What the world? Oh, man!
SHW. This is our wrestling.
Unbelievable.
You think you could walk all over me, but I don't see that happening. We're warriors.
We told you anybody could show up here tonight. This crowd is going ballistic. Using that dog collar now, just choking Huckabee and Ashton Starr, your new #1 contender. The Lynch Mob are your first ever SHW Tag Team Champions. You're kidding me. Logan Creed is in the action building. Unbelievable. I can't believe what we saw here tonight, folks. I mean, this is insane.
And now, the voices of Southern Honor Wrestling, Brandon Benefield and Gerard Bonner.
Hey, SHW faithful, this is SHW. This is our wrestling Ep.003. We are the voices. We are the voices of SHW. It's me, B-Double, Brandon Benefield, alongside my broadcast partner. He's on this side, GB Gerard Bonner. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you holding up? We're still in the quarantine.
Look, still in the quarantine. I know our state is pretty much up and at 'em, but I want to just play it safe. And well, for me, for the most part, I usually work from home anyway, so it's not like, but there are other things that I would normally do that I haven't exactly quite embraced yet. But we'll take our time. We'll get back. Look, I know we'll be safe when Gary Lamb says we have an SHW show. And I know for sure it's good to come out.
By the way, speaking of which, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read it verbatim, but
Yeah.
you saw his post earlier this week, or might have been towards the end of last week, about he was saying he's getting hounded with questions from people. When are we going to have an SHW show? And it was something along the lines of, as soon as there's no crowd restrictions, we'll have a show.
Yeah.
So I
I'm gonna
took
grab the
that
exact post for you.
Okay,
because
I took that to
it's-
mean he's not into having a empty arena show or a 25% capacity show. It sounds to me like he wants us to be able to come back full force, which is great. I would love that. Unfortunately, well,
It just means it's going to take a little while.
I just think it's going to take longer than we hope it will, and I hope I'm wrong, but
Well,
I don't know.
It's very interesting to see because, I mean, and we're probably obviously going to have Gary Lamb on this podcast at some point. But if you follow Gary on social media, Gary is itching to have the world open back up. And so, so it is interesting that he is deciding, hey, we're going to wait until we can do it right, because at one point, as we well know, we were looking at an empty arena show and we were this close to pulling the trigger on it. And I think in time, he's kind of said, well, hey, there's a way we do Southern Honor. And, really, there's no wrong answer to this. I mean, obviously, we've seen organizations do the empty arena. Some are trying to do some limited, audiences and things. I think it just figures what works best for each promotion. And certainly for us, the fans are a huge part of what we do. So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, well, again, like we've said every week since we've been doing the podcast here, like we just can't wait to get back, but unfortunately we just don't know a time frame. So your guess is as good as ours. And but hey,
we'll keep guessing.
We'll guess every single week. We'll have, and that's the thing about this whole situation for the last 2 months. It's been such a fluid situation where it seems like every week or every other day things are changing, and so I mean it's hard to try to even guess anything really. So
I would guess this though. I think as soon as Gary gets the green light, I don't think it's going to take a very long time for him to put something up, for there to be a show, and most importantly for you, the SHW faithful, to say I'm in. And so just kind of have your ticket money waiting, because I just get the feeling it's not going to be one of those things where we get the note and the show is 2 months from whenever the announcement is. I think it's going to be, he's going to do it as quick as he can, because, hey, we're a community. We're dying to get back together. So, well, not dying. You know it. That came out bad.
Too soon? I
don't get what I mean. Yeah, I didn't get it. It's one of those things where you say it and you're like, it's not what I meant. But you know what I mean. What I mean is we're really desperately looking forward to all connecting. And let's face it, the SHW crowd is not a social distancing kind of crowd.
Right.
We're not the folks to be, okay, 6 feet. No, we are going to be nestled in there tight. And that first show is probably going to be pretty packed.
And it's going to be raucous. I mean, it's going to be crazy because everybody's been itching to get out of the house anyway.
Absolutely.
And SHW crowds are known to just blow the roof off. So it's going to be interesting. So we just can't wait. But one thing we want to mention, and we mentioned it almost every week so far, is that because we're not running shows, that means that our favorite wrestlers from SHW are not currently working or not as much as they'd like to be anyway. So we definitely want to try to support them any way we can, and that includes buying some T-shirts.
Merch.
I got the Ravenna Vane, rocking the Ravenna Vane. You can find her on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and hit her up for some merch. And also, don't forget about ProWrestlingTees.com. As you can see, get the SHW T-shirt there. Let me move out of the way here. We got the Working Team's captain, Owen Knight, right here. And then Ashton Starr, don't forget.
Yes, former SHW champion. There he is.
So, yeah, definitely want to hit them up on ProWrestlingTees.com and buy some merch. So, speaking of which, real quick, don't let me forget, the Lynch Mob also has some T-shirts up on ProWrestlingTees.com. They have several designs. This is one of the older ones, one of my favorite designs. They also have a couple newer ones up there. I think they maybe have 3 or 4 total. But find them, the Lynch Mob, on Pro Wrestling Tees. And that reminds me, Matt Lynch.
Absolutely. Matt Lynch, one half of the SHW Tag Team Champions, is our special guest here today. So stay tuned. And if you missed last week's show, go back and check it out on all the outlets where you get your podcast. Look for a SHW This Is Our Wrestling podcast, where last week we talked to Joe Black. It was pretty amazing. And of course, you can check us out in all sorts of places, all over social media. You can check out this video podcast on YouTube and Facebook Live as well.
That's right. At SHW Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, like you said, we're on all the different podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all the good stuff. So be sure you find us, subscribe, like, download, share, all that good stuff. And we look forward to bringing you these every week. And we've been having so much fun so far. And earlier today, as we mentioned, we talked to Matt Lynch. So let's listen in.
All right, guys, SHW fans, listen, we've got an exciting interview lined up for you today. If you remember all things SHW, you remember just a couple of months ago, we crowned our first ever SHW Tag Team Champions. And we have one half of the Tag Team Champions hanging out with us today. Welcome of the Lynch Mob. It's Matt Lynch. Matt, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? You guys doing all right?
Man,
yes,
we're
sir.
doing great. How are you doing in this quarantine season?
Man, just trying to stay busy. Trying to keep myself occupied, man. It's gotten kind of boring. I'm ready to get back to normal.
Totally get that. Speaking of boring, one of the things that we've been finding with a number of wrestlers is that wrestlers, some are disconnecting from wrestling during this time. Some are reconnecting. Where are you with that? Have you been watching the sport? How are you feeling right now about wrestling in general?
I believe the last time I watched a full show was Mania weekend. And I think since then, I've watched some of the guys and the girls from Southern Honor do the stuff with AEW. So that's about all I've watched. I haven't been keeping up with much of it. I've seen Austin Theory do a little bit on Raw. That's about the only thing I watch on Raw. So
that's incredible.
I just kind of stayed clear of it and just trying to clear my mind of it, to when we do start back on like a clean slate.
Yeah.
We just talked about this in the last couple of weeks, but I did a Throwback Thursday. I think it was last week or the week before. I shared the video. It was the match of Austin Theory versus Cody Vance from February of last year. If you recall, David Arquette showed up out of nowhere and got involved in that match. And it's crazy to think, here we are just about a little over a year later, and you got Preston Vance, Cody Vance on AEW doing big things as part of the Dark Order. Cool. And then on the other side on WWE, not only on Raw, but he had a match at WrestleMania, Austin Theory, like you talked about. Like, how cool is that SHW representing on the big brands, which
man, I love it. Just seeing these local guys, man, just get out there and kill it and get seen and make some money, man, and just, make us all proud.
Yeah,
I'd
for
love
sure.
to be out there doing it.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this with Joe Black last week, but as far as that next level, like, what do you guys, do you and Joey have like a bucket list or like your aspirations? Are you trying to get to one of the big companies? Like Joe mentioned, his big thing was wanting to go to Japan and make his way over there. So do you and Joey have any kind of thoughts or aspirations like that?
I mean, for myself, I mean, it'd be cool to be able to do some stuff with WWE and AEW. I mean, I've been on Raw and SmackDown before, and that was cool. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's always that, that want to go back and be able to, maybe even do something else or do something with AEW or, I mean, even New Japan, which I don't know if New Japan's, my style. I'm getting a little too older for the that physical, and I can't get hit like that, dude. It hurts.
That strong style.
Yeah, dude.
Very strong
That's
style.
crazy. Them guys in there slugging it, but it's been 17 years this March, and man, if something's gonna happen, man, it'd be awesome for it to go ahead and happen because
Yeah.
start to run ragged.
You ain't getting any younger. Yeah.
No, man, no, I'm not.
Speaking of growing up and getting a little older, let's talk about real quick, and then we'll get back to the wrestling. But you've got a little surprise coming on the way, a little daughter, huh? Coming up pretty soon, right?
Man. This will be the first Lynch girl. So
Uh-oh.
I'm excited, man.
She will be well protected.
Yes.
That's true. She's got 2 older brothers. I got 2 other boys, and Joey's got a boy. So I just I feel bad for her boyfriends or any kind of guys that chase after her because she's the Lynch mob can be pretty brutal when it comes to that kind of stuff. And yeah, I feel somewhat bad for her. It's gonna be cool though. I'm excited. Me and my fiance are super stoked about it.
Well, congratulations, man. We're very happy for you.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Let me ask you this because, so many things have changed with the pandemic and this environment. But I wonder, is this kind of an ideal time for you as a wrestler to have your baby when you don't have a lot on the schedule versus perhaps being out on the road every weekend, or does that even matter?
Ideally, I wouldn't say this is the greatest time to have a baby. It's really put a damper on absolutely everything we've planned on doing. Like we had a drive-by baby shower, which we did have some friends that hung out and stuff like that. And we haven't really been able to do much shopping because everything's closed. Sure. But I mean, it is good that we're not on the road and I don't have to worry about all these bookings or canceling bookings just in case she goes into labor and that kind of stuff. But my dog's over here knocking stuff over. But man, I don't know. I was planning on taking some time off anyway. So this kind of worked out in a bittersweet kind of way. You know what I mean? But, I wouldn't wish this to happen, but I mean, it is what it is, but just making the best of it. That's all we can do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, in honor of you, I'm wearing my Road Warriors t-shirt today.
Man.
And it's kind of crazy. And so, when you start thinking of amazing tag teams, of course, we think about the Lynch Mob winning the tag team championships. Take us back to that night, because the night of that match was crazy. Talk about what that was like for you guys going into the final match of that series with Not Yet Rated. Particularly when your brother was coming off of a bit of an injury. What was that whole feeling going into that match for you?
Well, there was a lot of doubt Joey was going to be able to do anything in that match. A lot of people don't know he was hurt that match. I mean, he was hurt going into it. And so I don't know if we break the third, fourth, fifth wall, whatever, but I mean, that's kind of how we set this all up, was to get Joey and me to get in there and take most of the, the beat and everything. But,
wait, so that's why he got handcuffed to the ring?
Hey, man,
son of a.
But no, I mean, it's just these kind of things you got to work around. I mean, like I say, 17 years, we've not really been injured, but little things like that, like I think it was his knee or his ankle was messed up.
His ankle, yeah.
Yeah, we worked around it, and I mean, dude, we made the best of it, and that was a hell of a match. I took a freaking butt whooping, that's for sure. But man, to see that crowd when we held those belts up, dude, it was I've never experienced anything like that, because that, honestly, it was the first time that we've ever really won a championship that actually meant something, you know. So it was fun for us, and I mean, we still got the belts. We haven't really got to defend them yet, so I'm excited to get back to the ring and show everybody what we're all about, and you know, carrying Southern Honor on our backs. I'm excited about it though, man.
Hey, if anything, this pandemic is helping you guys have a longer title reign than, you know, like unexpectedly, and you're not having to do any work for it. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know, man.
You're getting to heal up and everything. So you mentioned Joey was coming off that ankle injury. So he'd injured it a couple months prior in one of the matches against Not Yet Rated. And then a few months before that, you had the brutal rib injury when you fought the Gymnasty Boys. And I remember, because you and I talked that following week to kind of get an update and see how you were doing. So like you said, you guys have avoided big injuries for the most part, but then over the last year, you guys kind of racked up a few injuries. And how has it been feeling with all this unexpected time off to be able to heal up? And are you feeling physically like at your best right now? Or
I would say I'm not being real active. I've actually took advantage of this and sat over on the couch and enjoyed it. I got laid off from my shoot job, so I'm, you know, not been really doing much. Joey's trying to get me back motivated and get back in the gym, because when it starts back, I know we're getting ready to start back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just got to get myself motivated. But injury wise, I feel great. I'm not taking any bumps. I'm not getting my head busted open. I mean, it's nice. My back feels good. My knees feel good. My neck feels good. So it's just I'm looking forward to getting back, but I'm not looking forward to that painful Sunday evenings, you know, Monday going back to work, hobbling back in.
yeah.
But I mean, hey man, it's par for the course. It's what we do.
Since you mentioned it, I want to bring it up again real quick. You know, every week we like to, you know, because we mentioned that a lot of our favorite wrestlers are currently, unfortunately, not able to work because there's no shows. And one thing we always like to bring up is ProWrestlingTees.com, or if you have your own like personal store. So we promoted this earlier in the show at the beginning. I got one of the older shirts with the older design on it, but I know you guys have a newer one available, and I think there's like 3 or 4 available at your Pro Wrestling Tees. So definitely wanted to plug that for you. And if anybody's interested.
I've got a couple of shirts. There's actually I put in some pre-orders for one of my new designs, and the problem is with the pandemic going on, the lady hasn't got my order out yet. So
everything's delayed.
I got a lot of people waiting, but I've got some good shirts. I've got them on my Facebook. I posted them on my Twitter and my Instagram. You can, if you're interested in getting one, just hit me up. And then I've got our Pro Wrestling Tee store. I think it's under Lynch Mob or The Lynch Mob or something like that. And hey man, go in there and check them out. I mean, they're awesome shirts. Yeah. I got them all. I represent myself. Got to, man.
I love it. You have to do that.
Yeah.
So a couple of quick questions. For one, I mentioned the Road Warriors earlier. You know, growing up, who were some of the tag teams that influenced you guys to want to get in the business?
Man, the Road Warriors were a big one. We used to, we had a trampoline in our backyard, and we would record the video, like, that was it, the Sega Genesis. So they had the video games with it. They played the music and stuff. So we'd record it. So we would play it on the little tape player as we'd come out, and we'd do that kind of stuff. We had the Road Warriors music and stuff. And it was another big one was the Hogan and Warrior when they had teamed up, and then Macho Man and Warrior, and then just the whole deal like that back in the early 90s, man. Just wrestling in general was just all the cartoony, like, craziness, the colors and stuff, and that's pretty much what got us into it. And then I think it was later in the 90s, my dad built us a wrestling ring, and see, I wasn't ever really a big tag team wrestler. I was the bad guy, and Joey was the good guy. My my twin brother, he was a good guy too. So we kind of like, we stayed our singles guys and stuff like that. So it was just all the early 90s stuff is what we really hit home with us and just stuck with us. And
who's the older of the twins?
Me, I'm older by 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Okay, so how many brothers are there?
It's me, Brandon, and Joey.
Okay, so you're the
There's
oldest.
three.
That's what
Yep.
I was trying to get at. So you're the
I'm
oldest.
the
All
oldest. Joey looks a lot. I think he looks bigger and he looks older, but I'm the oldest.
Gotcha.
Wow.
All right.
That's incredible. Well,
Yeah,
of
man.
course, tag teams have amazing, amazing bonds. And this week has been kind of a weird week in the world of pro wrestling with the news about Shad Gaspard of Crime Time, which is just crazy. I know you guys had a match like last year or so, if I remember correctly. Talk a bit about your relationship with Shad Gaspard and how that news impacted you.
Man, it was just hearing about that's rough. Being a father and everything. Knowing that he had went to he made sure his son was safe before he got saved. I mean, that hits home. That's rough stuff, man. He was a really good guy. When me and Joey, we didn't know what to expect with working with some names. Some names are a little standoffish and man, big dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like 6'8" or something like that, and the other way, they're just swole.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of intimidated walking up to him. And he was like, I don't know how to take him. So we walked up and introduced ourselves. Man, from that moment on, they were the coolest dudes.
Wow.
Made sure when we started talking about what we were going to do in the match, and they made sure we got everything we wanted to get in. Hey, you got some big moves you want to do? Yeah, cool. And man, they were just so giving in the match. And probably one of the easiest teams that we've worked with in like the most recent history. And just hearing about that, man, that's rough, dude. I'd stayed in touch with Shad and JTG for a little while after the match. And I don't know, man, that's rough, dude. I mean, you hate to hear anything like that, just in general, but it kind of hits home being a wrestler and tag team wrestler and then a father, so it's just, my thoughts and prayers go out to the friends and everybody that's touched by his life, his family. It's just, man, I hate to hear that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's.
You mentioned your twin brother Brandon a little while ago, and I believe he was the one that might have been streaming it on Facebook, and it was about a year ago. It was for Next Generation Wrestling, and I remember watching it live that night because I think he was doing Facebook Live of your match with Crime Time, and that's the last time I remember seeing Crime Time like do anything. I'm sure they've been around the indies, recently and over the years, but the last time I actually saw them was that match that Gerard referred to a second ago, from about a year ago, and I just remember you telling me after the fact how good of a guy and how cool those guys were. And it's one of those things, I just thought of this because this week was they aired the Dark Side of the Ring with Owen Hart. And Owen Hart is one of those that you always hear about. Like nobody has ever had a bad thing to say about the guy. Like, and it's rare in wrestling that's the case. And as I've seen the news broke earlier this week about Shad and like everything I've been seeing posted, same kind of thing where I haven't seen anybody that's ever had a bad thing to say. Everybody talks about how good of a guy he was, which makes this even more difficult to fathom this news. So, and again, as we're recording this a little earlier in the week and we're releasing on Friday. So at this point, if this is airing Friday, I don't know exactly what the outcome has been, but we can only assume from what we've seen that it's not good. So anyways, like you mentioned a second ago, thoughts and prayers out to the friends and family.
And prayers, dude.
And man, what a tough situation. And it sucks even more because we're in this crazy situation as a global pandemic where it's like, what it's like you've survived the pandemic, you haven't gotten sick, and you finally the beach opens and you want to go with your family to the beach to get out of the house for once. And then,
it's tragedy. Anyway, I mean, it's horrible, man.
I told Gerard this earlier in the week. It's almost like a Kobe situation where it's just such a fluke accident. Like, and it's just stuns.
And it doesn't seem real, you're just like, really, I mean, we're all stuck inside and it's just kind of, all you have to do is think about stuff like that. And it just, it's hard to just soak in and like, it doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
I hate it, man.
Yeah. And it's a thing like we've talked about for the last 2 months. It's like 2020, like what else can happen in 2020?
I don't want to know.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
love
just
that.
stop, just enough already, you know? Like,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
I'm ready for some good news. I'm ready for this
Yes.
baby. I'm ready for, the wrestling to
Yes.
start back up. I'm ready to hang out with all my friends again,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for it to get back to normal. 2020 has sucked so far.
So speaking of that, and it's funny because 2020 has been such a mixed bag. You guys won the tag titles earlier this year, this crazy pandemic. What's the first thing you're gonna do when you get the green light to say, hey, you know what? We can go back to wrestling. We can go back to all the places we love. What's the first thing you think you're gonna do?
Good question. First of all, I want to get back to wrestling, but I want to go
Yes.
shopping.
Ah,
My wardrobe is outdated. I'm ready to go get some new clothes, man.
I get it.
I need some new clothes. I gotta look
Yeah.
fly, dude. I'm sick of
Yeah.
I'm sick of wearing I'm wearing basketball shorts right now. I'm just lounging.
Wait, you've actually got pants on?
I do.
Oh, all right.
So I thought about getting dressed up from the waist up, but I was like,
That's
they
what
don't mind.
everybody's been doing these like work meetings, these Zoom video chats and everything. And like, that's the whole joke, is that nobody's actually wearing pants, and everybody's
Yeah.
got, like a
Hilarious.
tie up top and nothing down low. So
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, when you come back, and I know no telling what's going to be happening, but do you have any opponents you want to battle when you come back? Do you see any styles changing? What do you think coming back to wrestling is going to be like once the doors reopen?
It's a good question. I do think that it's going to be a lot different. I think just sports in general is going to be a lot different. I mean, you see, how UFC is doing it right now. No audience. Wrestling, no audience. It's like you don't really know what to expect. All we can do is get back in there and give it our all. I mean, man, I know me and Joey are looking forward to get back to tag team wrestling. That's the one thing that I enjoy. The last match I had was it was down here in North Georgia, Chatsworth or whatever. It was a singles match, and I was like, man, I got to get back to tag team wrestling. I get so blown up by myself. So
I get it.
man, I don't know, man. I just want everybody to be safe.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of it, which is controversial, I think a lot of it's blown out of proportion. But I do think if you're going to be, everybody be careful. Wash your hands. If you feel safe to wear a face mask, wear a face mask, man. Don't hate on people if they want to wear a face mask. But let's just get back to normal.
yeah.
I'm ready to go see my friends, my fans, fellow wrestlers. I mean, I even miss Dylan, man.
Now we know the quarantine has gotten to you.
Yeah, man.
So you were talking about potential opponents maybe in the future who you might want to face. I had gone back and I looked and listed every single team you faced in SHW up to this point, and it's quite a list. But some of the feuds you've had over the what has it been, a year and a half, 2 years almost of SHW? The Jungle Kings was a big one.
That was a
and
fun one.
the Jungle Kings, of course, not yet rated, is that was for the titles. That series of matches was amazing. Team that only came in once that I would love to see you guys again face, the Ugly Ducklings. You remember facing them at Retaliation?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we faced
you guys,
them with
Dustin
we
Thomas.
teamed up. Yeah, Dustin, man, that was a fun match.
Yeah.
And with everything going on that night, it was like there was so much going on. But like I felt like we had a pretty good match too. And like Dustin kind of got thrown in the match last minute because it wasn't going to happen. It was just kind of a request from Cody. He wanted to see him in a match live, and hey man, we made the best of it. But the Ugly Ducklings, dude, those are some good dudes. We've wrestled them several times, and they're wild, dude. They get in the middle of the ring, man. You don't know what's coming at you. You're gonna get hit left, right, and up top. No telling what they're gonna do.
They are so much fun, and the interesting thing about that night was that they're a face team, and you guys are like the biggest faces in SHW, and so it was interesting because once they started taking the offensive on Dustin, and they're bigger dudes, and obviously Dustin doesn't have legs, and so it was just like they immediately became the heels because of that. It was like
the
how
crowd
can you
turned on them like just on a dime.
And it was so interesting to see that dynamic. But I remember after that match thinking, man, I would love to see those guys back in SHW, and I know you guys could have some amazing matches with them moving forward. So hopefully we see them back. You guys have faced the Revolt, you faced the Dirty Blondes, the Shotgun Killers. I mean, just a huge string of matches. Gymnasty Boys, who I mentioned earlier.
I
And
love gymnastics.
I was going to say, do you have any like favorites to stand out? Not to like put anybody else down or throw anybody under the bus, but do you have anybody that stands out as like a favorite opponent?
I know the Jungle Kings feud was probably one of my favorite feuds we've ever had as a tag team. It was, I mean, we get in there. And the thing was, at the beginning of it, it was real heat. We didn't like each other.
Wow.
So, and I think after we got in the ring, we just kind of started filling it out, man. And we worked the same. Me and Joey worked the same as they worked the same. And it was just I mean, you saw the matches, dude. They were just nonstop, just beating the crap out of each other. And there was a lot of respect in those matches. I want to get my match back with Gymnasty, because that's where I got hurt.
Right.
And we didn't get to get in there and, you know, battle it out with them. So I think that match would be a good match to come back to. Definitely the Ducks. I'd like to have the Revolt back. They're under a lot of there's a lot of controversy going on with that craziness right now. But
yeah, no
I'd like
kidding.
to have them back, man. Those are Caleb and Zane are great dudes, and they have a lot of heart in what they do, and I'm glad that they're standing up for themselves too with what's going on with that controversy. So
yeah,
but
it'd be interesting, man. I would love to see all those guys come back, man. That's the thing. Like, we just don't know when we're going to be back, and we say it every week, but hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. But we just don't know, and we don't want to hold you too long. We're going to let you roll here, but man, we really appreciate you stopping by and talking to us on our episode 3 of SHW. This is our wrestling, man. So, anything else you want to plug or say to the fans here before we let you go?
No, man. I miss everybody. I can't wait to see everybody, and wish me luck, man. I'm about to have a daughter.
Yeah.
Good
all this
luck.
Hair, I'm growing my hair out now.
You got the man bun.
Ready to lose it all. This beard's gonna be gray, man. I'm not gonna look the same. So just pray for me.
You'd be looking. So you're gonna say you look like Santa Claus? It's gonna come in all gray and white eventually, and
bald and everything. I'm gonna have the Hogan look, man.
I'll tell you from experience, baby girls change your life. So just get
so I've heard, man. I'm so excited, dude. That's the one thing that I've been, that's really been keeping me going during this quarantine. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir, man.
We appreciate you being here. How can people reach you on social media, my friend?
Let me see. I've got all my stuff wrote down because I don't remember any.
It's so funny. It's so funny. A lot of people we talk to are the same way. They're like,
let's see.
Hang on.
I just click, man. I just click, and I know where it's at. It's Instagram is under it's Lynch_Matt, and then our Twitter is at the Matt Lynch 423, and then at Lynchmob_423. And I'll let Joey plug his when he's on. I'm not worried about him. So.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you real soon, buddy.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Take it easy, buddy.
All right, man.
Well, there you have it. One half of the SHW Tag Team Champions, Matt Lynch.
Yeah.
What an interview, Gerard.
That was a fun interview. Lots of things I didn't know about Matt Lynch. And again, congratulations to him. The impending birth of his baby girl. That's exciting. Let me tell you, my daughter is graduating in just a couple of weeks, which is crazy. And so a baby, as they say, changes everything. So we're really excited for Matt and can't wait to see what that's going to do for him getting back into the ring when we hit back in full swing, whenever that is.
For sure. And of course, we touched on a few different matches that the Lynch Mob have had over the course of SHW being in existence. And one of those was the match against the Ugly Ducklings back at Retaliation last year. And of course, that was the same show as the AEW Invasion, basically, where Omega and Jericho and Cody all showed up. So we talked about that. We talked about, of course, a couple of months ago at SHW 17, where they won the tag titles in the cage match.
What a night that was.
And tell everybody how we can go back and see these shows in their entirety.
Absolutely. One of the greatest things on planet Earth, legit, is being at an SHW show. So if you can't be there, or if you were there and you want to relive it, the best way to do it is independentwrestling.tv. All you have to do is go there and you can sign up to see all things SHW. $10 a month, a small price to pay to have access to all of the content from SHW. You can watch all of those shows in their entirety. And SHW 17 was one of my favorite shows. The crowning of our new tag team champions, the first ever SHW cage match, which turned into 2 cage matches, 3 title changes with only 2 championships. Yeah, it's one of those things you have to see to believe. I'm getting hyped talking about it all.
I know.
So go back, check it out, and check out all of the other amazing content. It's a great way to play catch up. You know, we're binge watching all these things on Netflix and Hulu. Binge watch SHW on IWTV. You can check it out, download it in the App Store. You can check it on Apple TV and Roku and all of those cool places. A great way to spend your time while in quarantine. Get yourself ready. So when SHW comes back, you will be all the way up to speed. Again, IWTV, independentwrestling.tv, and you can find SHW there. All of our content is right there.
That's right. And that's going to do it for another episode 3 of SHW. This is our wrestling. Thank you guys for joining us. And like Gerard mentioned earlier, definitely find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram at SHW Pod. And of course, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. You can watch us. Of course, you're watching us on Facebook right now. You can watch us also on our YouTube channel. Find us at SHW. This is our wrestling. And man, we are all over the internet, all over the interwebs. So go out there and find us, like us, subscribe, share. And we hope to keep bringing you some great content. And of course, every week we're going to have a special guest. We don't know who it's going to be next week, but you got to tune in and be here next Friday and find out. And until then, this has been SHW.
This is our wrestling.